Welcome to WJOB's Beyond the Uniform podcast, where we discuss the issues affecting veterans who have transitioned out of their uniform and into the challenges of civilian life. Now here's your host.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Connie Karras, your co-host, along with Steve Bramer. How are you, Steve?
Good morning. I'm doing good. I'm doing real good today.
How was your week?
It was busy, very busy. A lot of fundraising, a lot of talking to vets. It was fun. It was nice.
And it's sweater weather.
Yeah, that's why I'm happy.
Loving the sweater weather. And I love to sleep in this sweater weather.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful.
Oh, I love sweater weather.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We have a great show, and we have some really exciting announcements to make. We have not only some very special people here in the studio and one on a Zoom call, but we have some new and exciting announcements to make about what was the Veterans Views podcast. It is now Beyond the Uniform, and we are so excited to be coming to you with this new format. It's going to talk about all of the things that we do not talk about on Veterans Views radio show, because Veterans Views is bipartisan, non-controversial, and we give folks a break for an hour from all the racket, all the politics, all the everything that disconnects us, so that we can connect veterans to other veterans and enrich our communities. However, this podcast is going to talk about all of the things we need to talk about as veterans in our communities, are the very pressing issues. So Beyond the Uniform is excited now also to be having our first live not live stream, but video stream. Up until now, it's been an audio podcast, but from now on, it's going to be video. Still pre-recorded, and we may go live at some point soon, but I am just so elated that this is going to be something where everybody who is a part of this podcast will be able to see each other and be seen by our audience.
Oh, so now this is...
Yes.
So now they're recording video too?
Yes.
Right now?
Yes. And I see you wore your Sunday best.
All right.
Actually, Steve, you actually look like you always do for veterans. Just be yourself.
About consistent, you know?
This show is about being oneself, so you're being yourself. Be true to yourself. That's what we need to do in life. All right, without further ado, I want to thank all of our wonderful guests who are here with us in the studio. Amy Kay, Brian Jonasen, Joe Stuteville, and Mark Smith. And then we have Blythe Potter on Zoom. I want to welcome you all to the show. Thank you for coming. The four folks we have in the studio came from the Indianapolis area this morning, and I thank you.
Oh, wow.
For coming that far. Yes.
That was awesome that you guys came that far.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a very important show. So, Amy, you were actually interviewed for a podcast before it became a video podcast, when it was an audio podcast, when this show was called Veterans Views Podcast. That was a show that dropped on May 10th of this year. It was episode 19, and it was called We Love Our Country and Just Want to Keep Serving for Our Enduring Freedom. Please don't trample ours. A conversation with U.S. Navy Seabee and transgender veteran Amy Kay. Welcome back to the show. We are so happy to have you in person and can't wait to talk about some of the updates as to what's been going on with transgender troops and the transgender community under our new administration. And so Amy is a U.S. Navy veteran who served 8 years active duty and 2 years reserve with an MOS as a CB utilitiesman rating. And CBs basically do all rates because they are such a diverse group of people. Amy served under the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, so it was something she hid while serving her country, although she wishes she did not have to hide it. Her duty stations were at Gulfport, Mississippi, with NMCB 133, as well as NMCB 26 in Indianapolis. And Amy wants people to understand that transgender people just want to live their lives. They're not throwing their trans selves up in your face. What people see and hear is the fact that they're fighting for equal rights protections to be added to the Constitution. They want to be just like everybody else, and they're very misunderstood. We're going to talk more about that. And next, we have Brian Jonasen. Jonasen, thank
works,
you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. After graduating the United States Air Force Academy with a Bachelor's of Science in Electrical Engineering, Brian served for 26 years active duty as an aircraft acquisition program manager, an aircraft maintenance officer, and a senior material leader. While serving in the military, he earned 3 master's degrees. The first was a master's degree in management science from the University of Dayton, and the final 2 were degrees in operational art and strategic studies from Air Command and Staff College and the Air War College. Wow, that is just quite a resume there. Brian retired as a colonel in 2014 and continued Department of Defense work as a consultant for 10 more years prior to final retirement. Married for 34 years to Sandra, their son is a pilot in the United States Air Force, and their daughter is pursuing a commission as a flight nurse. Brian is a native of Illinois and a recent transplant to Indiana. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Joe Stuteville. Joe was a Vietnam War Army veteran and served from 1974 to 77. He was a military police officer serving at Tory, is that pronounced correctly? Tory Station, Okinawa for nearly 2 years, and he rounded out his service with the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He attended college on the GI Bill in his hometown of Evansville, Indiana, where he majored in English, history, and journalism at the University of Southern Indiana. Joe went on to a journalism career in daily newspapering and stringing for the Associated Press. He moved to Indianapolis in early 1985 and was a reporter for United Press International. He later worked as a national affairs senior writer and executive editor for the American Legion magazine. His career has taken him to Civil War-torn Central America in the late 1980s, and he reported extensively from Saudi Arabia and Kuwait during Operation Desert Storm in 1991. In 2000, he crossed over to, his words, the dark side of public and media relations for the Indiana University School of Medicine, and later for the Franciscan Health Medical System, where he also was a chief spokesperson and speechwriter. He retired in 2023 and is now active in veterans-related activities as a volunteer at Helping Veterans and Families, an Indianapolis-based nonprofit organization. He's also a proud member of Greenwood American Legion VFW Honor Guard team, which provides graveside and other memorial services throughout central Indiana. I am a Department of Defense Honor Guard myself as well. Thank you, sir. An Indianapolis resident, Stuteville is a member of the American Legion and holds a life membership in the Vietnam Veterans of America. Welcome home, sir.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Mr. Mark Smith. Mark is a United States Marine Corps veteran, hoorah. He served active duty from 1979 to 1983, and then after boot camp and infantry training school, he was sent to his permanent duty station, Marine Barracks Naval Submarine Base, Bangor, Washington. He worked security for the Trident missile system guarding nuclear weapons. As a civilian, he worked for Carrier Corporation for 22 years before retiring in 2024. As a civilian, he worked for Carrier Corporation for 22 years before. Oh, I already read that. Since retirement, he has started traveling. I should use a pointer. As a civilian, he worked for Carrier. Again, we did it. I need more crayons. Connie hasn't eaten enough crayons.
Right here.
Thank you, Amy. Since retirement, he has started traveling, going to Costa Rica and New York this past year. He's also gotten very active in protesting the actions of this Trump administration to honor his oath to serve and protect the United States Constitution. That's going to get an hoorah from me, too. I would like us to talk about the disregard, circumvention, and attack on our U.S. Constitution. I would also like us to talk about what got us to this point, and that is the wealthy big banks, corporations, and Wall Street waging class warfare on the working class, middle class, and poor over the last 40 to 50 years throughout their corrupt corrupt, bought, and paid for politicians for both corrupt, bought, and paid for political parties to rig the political, economic, and judicial system in their favor and against we the people. That says it all right there. And last but not least, okay, Blythe. Let's welcome Blythe Potter to the show. She could not be. Blythe, good morning. Thanks for zooming in. How are you?
Good morning. Good. Thanks for having me.
Finally. Blythe is a military police veteran, a proud Johnson County resident, and a small business owner of Bargersville Wellness, a political content creator, activist, organizer, and an active member and supporter of many community organizations. Blythe's a mother to her 5-year-old Violet, stepmom to 2 adult women, and wife of a geologist, feminist Democratic candidate, and fellow activist Michael for 12 years. Blythe holds a Bachelor of Applied Science in Massage Therapy and an MBA, both from Siena Heights University in Adrian, Michigan. Blythe is an esthetician, massage therapist, and yoga teacher by trade, but has always been an activist at heart. She is the Indiana chapter lead for Bitches Get Stuff Done. Blythe is the White River 9 precinct chairwoman, a Hoosier Women Forward Emerging Leaders Project, Center Grove Ambassadors, and Leadership Johnson County graduate, as well as the recipient of the Diane Black Servant Leadership Award in 2023 from LJC. Blythe enlisted in 2002 due to her love for her country and the values embodied in the Constitution, and considers activism an extension of her oath and service to her state and nation. Blythe also believes we are only as strong as our most suppressed and underrepresented neighbors, and our state and country are in crisis. And now I have talked enough, I think. Welcome everybody to this show. I can't wait to talk about what's going on in our country. Let's have a very, very frank talk, straight dope, to the point, uncensored, no holds barred. And the only thing that we can't say is anything that threatens violence. Otherwise, 4-letter words are even welcome. So
I like that name that she came up with.
Beyond the uniform?
No.
Bitches get stuff done. Yeah. Blythe, Steve loves you. Bitches get stuff done.
Thank you.
Yes.
I fucking love that. That's awesome.
All right, so who here knows who Robert Reich is?
Yes.
Okay, so Robert Reich, in 2008, Time named him one of the best 10 cabinet members of the country. He has worked in the administrations of the U.S. Presidents Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, and Barack Obama. For POTUS's Ford and Carter, he served as their Secretaries of Labor, and I misspoke. He worked in the administrations of POTUS's Ford and Carter, and he served as the Secretary of Labor in the Clinton cabinet from 1993 to 1997. And for President Barack Obama, he worked on the Economic Transition Administration Board. I follow Mr. Robert Reich, and I think he has a lot of really common sense things to say, as well as sound policy. Time thought so in 2008. So I read something in June of this year that he had written, Mr. Reich, on his Facebook page, and I want to read it here for everybody. And it's some food for thought, and it really made me think about what is going on in this country and why right now, when our Constitution, our rule of law, just basically all of our institutions are being assaulted with an authoritarian hand. So, and it seems that people who we have known traditionally to have wisdom and better judgment to know that this is authoritarianism, and that all of our freedoms are being threatened right now, kind of are suspending that better judgment. And I think this might explain why. This is what Robert Reich said. Friends, if you're anything like me, it's not just Trump's policies that anger and depress you. It's also the man himself. Ronald Reagan's policies were terrible, but he tried to present himself as a decent man. Trump is a despicable human being. His odiousness affects many of us because presidents are parent figures to the nation as a whole. According to psychological research, we respond to presidents much as we did to parents when we were kids. George Lakoff, professor of cognitive linguistics at UC Berkeley, has found that two competing models of parenting shape political preferences, either the quote-unquote strict parent or the quote-unquote nurturant parent. The strict parent views the world as a dangerous place that needs to be controlled. The nurturant parent emphasizes empathy and mutual responsibility. Lakoff has found that presidents are elected either because a large portion of the public wants a tough, judgmental parent or a caring, nurturing one. Reagan fit into the strict parent model. Barack Obama, the nurturant parent one. But I think Trump represents a third model, the cruel and abusive parent. A parent so malignantly narcissistic that he wields punishment for his own satisfaction, often in unpredictable ways that make him even more terrifying. In other words, Trump is not just abusing presidential power by violating laws and the Constitution. His behavior is also abusive. His malignant narcissism is viciously vindictive. His cruelty borders on sadism. He seems to take pleasure in causing others pain. And he often changes his mind or alters the punishment, creating even more confusion and fear. I don't want to oversimplify the very complex relationships between the parenting we had or subconsciously want and how we respond to Trump, but I believe these emotional connections are real and important. Critiques of Trump's policies alone don't get at them. Many of us who had nurturing parents are depressed and disoriented by Trump. We find it hard to comprehend how such a detestable person can wield so much power over us. Even many voters who hold to the strict parent view, who may have had a strict parent and perhaps voted for Trump because they felt the nation and the world were getting out of control, reject his abusiveness. So about 6 in 10 adults now say that Trump has, quote unquote, gone too far in using presidential power to achieve his goals. A third group is profoundly shaken by Trump. Of the people I know who are most emotionally devastated by him, many had at least one abusive parent. I suspect some are overwhelmingly drawn to him for the same reason, but instead of being shattered by him, they are fanatically loyal. This would include the sycophants now surrounding him in the White House and cabinet who appear to share his cruelty and sadism. And research shows that abusive parents often become more abusive over time, more enraged, more paranoid, and less predictable. Hence, the children of cruel and abusive parents tend to abandon them as soon as they are able or cling to them even more desperately. Let's hope all of America does the former with Trump, and the sooner the better. Wow. And I never really looked at it that way. Yeah.
So do you think he's the only president that's been vindictive? I mean, I'm pretty sure all of them have kind of had their fun with presidential powers over the years.
Anyone?
I totally agree with that, and it's interesting to hear that. Like,
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. With that kind of...
Oh, I'm so sorry. Blythe is speaking. Hold on. That's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay. Go ahead, Blythe. We don't all have headsets. Go ahead.
Is there a delay?
Yeah.
There's not everybody has headsets.
Yeah, only 2.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Go
ahead.
Joe, you can speak after.
I've been saying we're all gonna. I have PTSD, and I've been saying this for a while. We are all going to have PTSD from this, but hearing that philosophy and like the psychology behind, like, oh my God, it is. We are being abused. Like, it makes me feel this crazy.
And it gets to Steve. I don't know, Blythe, if you heard Steve's question. Aren't there other presidents who have been vindictive?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally think there is.
Oh, of course. But I think what we're seeing is what is unprecedented is the attack on the rule of law, on private businesses, on law firms, on revenge, on venge politics, on politicizing the military. These are he even said he was going to use the presidency to get even with his enemies.
Yes, he did.
This is the vindictiveness, Steve, that we're talking about that we have never seen in this country.
So you say vindictiveness, but what I see is a conclusion that was bound to happen. You know, when you have Democratic presidents that have wielded the same power in a certain direction, you got to understand, I mean, we've had a Democratic president the last, what, 3/4 of the past 20 years?
Yeah.
We've had a Democratic president, you know?
Yeah.
So this is just my opinion, but this is what happens when you push some of this ideology too far one way. That pendulum swings, and then now you got the complete opposite side.
What ideology was being pushed by the Democrats that you think caused people to go so much to the extreme with such an abusive person?
Okay. So I think that the whole narrative with, let's see. So, okay. No offense, right? But I feel like the trans issue was kind of one of them. You know, I think that was one that was pushed too far one way, and you had a lot of people that were in the middle. They don't care either way, but they were forced to pick a side, and they're like, well, I don't really like this side, so I have to pick this side, you know. And that's what this, and don't get me wrong, I don't agree with a lot of what Trump says either, but I also don't agree with a lot of what Biden said. I didn't agree with what Obama said. I didn't agree with a lot of what Clinton said, Bush. You know, I feel like we have had a political system that has become bought by big companies, pharmaceutical companies that are pushing their narratives. And now you're seeing people finally getting frustrated with it. I mean, look, I'm just going to throw one out there. The stuff that I'm learning on vaccines is blowing me away right now. And I don't know if it's right that we take 50 vaccines before we're 6 months old, or if we should take the 3 that we took 30 years ago. I don't know. But when I'm reading how much people have been affected by these vaccines, I mean, it's troublesome. It's scary, you know? I mean, I got 4 daughters. I can imagine if one of my daughters has an autoimmune deficiency. So now when I'm seeing that the hepatitis shot possibly could have caused autoimmune deficiencies, now it's like, well, and then, you know, and then you read like, well, the only way to get hepatitis is either through, you know, STDs, right, or through drug use, right? Yeah. So why does a 6-month-old need that? You know, why can't they take that when they're 11 or 12? So, and I mean, that's just one part. You know, I'm not saying that the way that he's handling things is the right way. But I also look at what's, I mean, look at Biden. How many times was Trump taken to court during Biden's administration, and that wasn't vindictive? I mean, I see it both ways.
May I comment? I know you had a thought.
Sure.
Thought, Joe, and
Go
then
ahead.
and then Amy, if you want to respond to that issue, transgender issue. So, with regard to, first off, who we have as Health and Human Services Secretary right now is so grossly underqualified, and just a loyalist, and doesn't even have...
Who, Robert Kennedy?
Yes.
I love Robert Kennedy.
So he's grossly underqualified, as are the loyalists on his cabinet. But beyond that, I mean, and the education secretary. But beyond that, Steve, had we not as children had a great deal of vaccinations, you and I wouldn't be sitting here. Polio, for instance, my goodness graciousness. You know, when the first Salk's first polio vaccine was developed, it killed many people. It was not effective. My mother remembers this. My mother's 93. She lived through this. And you know, and then a new one came out that was improved, that was more effective. But had there never been a polio vaccine, for instance, I can list so many other vaccines that really saved our lives. The other thing, as members of the military, and I think all of us can answer to this, had we not had the vaccines we had when we were serving, we would have become very sick, especially those of us who were deployed. And when we are serving in the military, the government owns us. And I never even would have thought when I enlisted to say, hey, I don't want this in my body. You can't do this to me. What's this going to do to me? We had blind faith that what the government was doing was trying to save our lives, right? Did you have an issue with the vaccines when you went in?
No, but I also had a choice in that. You know what I mean? Like, I took that risk on when I took the vaccines, right?
Right.
So,
as did we. But if we said no, we would not have been able to serve in the military.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But a kid doesn't have that option, you know? I mean, if they want to go to school, they have to take the vaccines, you know? And like I said, I by far am not qualified to answer any of this, right? But it's just as a parent, I look at it and I'm like, man, like, what are they putting in some of this food? What are they putting in some of these vaccines, you know? Now, look, is Trump doing everything the right way? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But at the same time, you know, there are still some policies that people do connect to because, so I think it was maybe, I think during Obama's administration, there was a presidential order that came out that pharmaceutical companies, so, okay, I take that back. I don't think it was Obama. But those pharmaceutical companies were not liable for vaccine damage anymore. That's when you saw vaccines go from 3 before the 6 months to 54 or some crazy number, you know? Now these pharmaceutical companies don't have to have, what is it called, like live placebo testing done where they see the effects compared to something else. They didn't have to do that anymore. And now they're not liable for this. Now, my thinking is when you do that, you're bound to have some mistakes. You're bound to, you know, and when you're putting stuff in my kids, you better make sure that you have enough data on this to say, you know, say that this is what's right for your kid. You know, if you're going to push something on me, it should be safe enough.
With regard to the transgender issue, I don't think we were throwing anything in anybody's face when we were allowing transgender folks to serve in the military, which they have done for the last 10 years before. Now they're being thrown out with this new administration. They did without incident. And let me just say something about transgender people. I have transgender people in my inner orbit. I love them. I have many of them in my inner orbit. My future son-in-law is a female to male transgender individual. I love him with all my heart. His name is Taylor. And it's based upon this new policy of even not allowing people who have served 15, 18 years to even have benefits. I think that's the Air Force's, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. That's just hateful. But insofar, beyond that nobody was being hurt by people serving in the military who are transgendered. And quite frankly,
I agree with you on that one.
Yes, and quite frankly, though, what happens when people don't understand something, if they're enculturated to believe it's evil or wrong, you know, what they do is they panic out of fear. They make something to be evil that they may not understand necessarily, but that also is not even hurting them. And this is this exact kind of issue. Having a transgender person serve in the military or just enjoy the same privileges and rights as anyone else is not taking away from your heterosexual marriage or anyone else serving in the military who is not transgender. It's not taking away any of our rights. It's not taking away anybody else's rights. It's allowing people to be who they are. And you'll remember from our podcast when we had interviewed Amy,
I do.
This transgender folks have existed since the dawn of time. It is an actual reality of life. And you know, when we have an executive order that says there's only a biological male and a biological female, that is actually not only not science-based, it's based upon hatred and fear. And
Yep.
Amy, do you want to respond?
Well, to add on that, you know, you have intersex people born with both sexes. You know, how can you say that you're either male or female when even a lot of them don't know until they reach a certain age they don't really mature and know who they are, male or female. But at birth, parents have to make the choice: do we want a boy or a girl? And back in the day, they would fix one of the other genders, and they many times made a mistake.
So can I just ask a question?
Sure.
When you say it, what does that mean?
Basically, they had a gender reassignment surgery at birth. So if they wanted a boy, but they had both sexes, they would remove what female parts they had, and they would introduce the male side and get them on a regiment to produce as a male.
Okay, I get what you're saying now. Yeah.
So it's no different than what teens were doing by doing the blockers to block their, whether it's testosterone or estrogen, from coming in and developing as a male or a female. As far as transgenderism being pushed on the country or the people, I think there was a lot of misinformation put out there. When you want to get information about something, where do you go? Do you go to your next door neighbor and ask them? Do you go to the guy down the street and ask, hey, tell me about this? No, you go to the source. How many people have actually gone up to somebody who's actually trans, living the life, and have lived it for 28 years now, and asked, hey, can you tell me a little bit about this? No. Instead, they buy into the misinformation that's been put out by propaganda. And one of our oligarchs, who is no longer in the White House helping as a right-hand man, Elon Musk, he put out a lot of this misinformation, and everybody jumped on the bandwagon.
And he has a transgender child.
He has a transgender child.
Which makes it even more
that
atrocious.
he refers to as the woke mind virus.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Something that
she
he
is
made
no
up.
longer his child because she did a legal separation. She doesn't want to associate with him at all. And that's sad. As a parent, you should love your child unconditionally. Jesus loves us unconditionally, so why can't we as parents love our children unconditionally, whether they're gay, straight, transgender, they like black people, red people, purple people, love them unconditionally for who they are. But if you want information about something, you go to the source, or you do your research on it and find the information. A lot of people saying that their kids having sex changes. No. Federal law stated before Trump even come into office, you had to be 18 years of age. You had to meet certain requirements. You had to have at least 1 year minimum.
Not for all of it, no.
Yes. No. To have your gender reassignment surgery, you had to be 18 years of age. You had to have 1 year of hormones, living as a female, and you had to meet the requirements with mental health specialist sessions.
You can have top surgery? Or you couldn't have top surgery before 18?
You have not unless it's changed.
Because
I've not seen it.
I think a prime example of that would be that one person from TV, Jazz. She had surgery.
Who's
Jazz?
Oh, talking about
Jazz.
I Am Jazz?
Yeah.
Jazz Jennings.
Yeah.
She was 18, I believe, when she had top surgery, when she had breast implants.
Yeah, I don't think so. But that's okay. But either way,
Yeah.
but so look, so I get that, all right? So this is my experience with it, right? Mm-hmm. So my daughter was going through that phase at one point, and I'm sorry, I just
Right.
So we let her do whatever she wanted to do, and she dressed differently, she talked differently. So then she wanted to go to Pride Parade in Chicago. So I was like, all right, yeah, let's go. So I go up to Pride Parade, right? And I definitely shouldn't have took my little kids. Let's put it that way. And it's just it was kind of more than
Why do you say that about your kids?
Because
What
there were
happened?
so many naked people there. Like, it was just
In the parade itself?
oh, in the whole area.
Completely, or you just like G-strings, like hardly any? Scantily dressed or completely nude?
People.
So on mainstream TV, you see almost the same thing anymore. So I mean, how is it any different seeing it in person than on TV?
I mean, it's not. I don't want that.
You control the outcome, and if you don't think it's appropriate for a child, you'd make it appropriate for them or not appropriate.
Yeah.
And that's a job as a parent, is to guide your child to show them right or wrong. And then when they get to the age, they can decide whether, hey, this is my life, this is what I want to do. Let them do it.
Yeah.
But, as a parent, you have to guide them and teach them right and wrong.
Yeah.
And you can't teach them how to live their life, or are they male or are they female. You can try, but ultimately you can't change the brain because, science, that second week is a gestation. Like with me, I got more estrogen than I got testosterone, and I should have got more testosterone. But because of that, it changed the whole chemical balance, and science has proven it over and over and over again. They've done study after study after study on people who have died that are trans and non-trans, and the BSTC region of the brain is I think it's like 0.5% larger, or it might be 1.5%. I can't remember. It's been years since I've studied that. And then if you take hormones for up to 1 year, that actually changes more to what a cis female would be or a cis male would be. But you take a gay man, and you would think, because you see them more flamboyant than a lot of trans a lot of times, you would think they would be off the Richter scale with higher estrogen, everything. But come to find out, their brain was identical to a cis male. No difference. But the trans brain was different, and it was altered for the better to match a cis female about as close as you can get after 1 year of hormones. So science has proven that the brain is definitely where you get your gender. It's not from your body.
And do you want to define cis? That means the person whose gender identity matches the sex at birth. Is that what a cis?
Yes.
Just so our audience can understand that.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So when you say that you had more estrogen than testosterone, was that before you started taking hormones?
That was the second week of gestation in my mother's womb.
Okay. So
the hormones I got were from her when I was developing. So my body should have gotten another round of testosterone, but what happened is I didn't get that. I got estrogen instead.
Okay.
And then as the progress each gestation, I would get more estrogen than I would get testosterone. But you still grow up, you can still function as a male, you can still have children, you can do all that.
Yeah.
But your brain says different. And I think I mentioned it before. You know how like when you're hungry and you try like 5 or 6 different foods and you finally get that last bite, you're like, oh my gosh, that's it, that's what I wanted. That's what it was like when I started taking hormones. After all those years, it's like, oh my God, I feel so much better now. It feels normal.
Yeah.
And that's how I knew that I was making the right choice when I started the hormones.
Do you, when did you start realizing that?
See, it's been almost 28 and a half years ago when I transitioned.
So how old would that be? Sorry, I don't mean to put your age out there.
Doing math in public.
I'm 55, so take away 28 years. So I was late 20s.
Late 20s, yeah, late 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I've lived this way,
years of age.
So you didn't even know that when you were going through your puberty and stuff.
I actually did a lot of research. Back then the internet was still fairly new, so a lot of my research come from libraries, encyclopedias. I spent a lot of time studying the Bible because, like a lot of people, you get a lot of information from the Bible. The Bible discusses this quite often in there. They use the word pious, which is an effeminate male. They've used eunuch as probably the biggest word in the Bible that discusses a wide variety of. You literally have those born in the mother's womb. You have those born for religious purposes. You have those created by men, which would be like your pedophiles, your rapists. And, those are different. It's a broad term used to describe so many different people. But even Jesus spoke about it to his disciples in Matthew 19, verse 12, and they wanted to know why some men don't marry. And he was describing eunuchs, and he said that for those born in the mother's womb, for those who do it for religious purposes, which would be your priests, your pastors who go celibate, monks, nuns, and then the pedophiles, the rapists, and even his own disciples didn't quite understand his meaning. He says, and he even said, not everybody will understand my meaning, so he went on, and he started discussing something else.
May I read that?
Sure.
And you don't hear people focus on Jesus' words. We don't, because let me tell you what Jesus said about homosexuality. It's this. Okay, so this is Matthew 19:12. Some people are eunuchs who either were born that way, were made that way by others, or who have chosen to live like eunuchs by renouncing marriage for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. And it's a teaching about celibacy, again, and self-denial, indicating that not everyone is called to marriage, and some are called to a life of singular devotion to God. And the verse is, I'll read it. This is the New International Version. For there are eunuchs who were born that way, and there are eunuchs who have been made eunuchs by others, and there are those who choose to live like eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. The one who can accept this should accept this. Matthew 19:12, New International Version, the Holy Bible, Book of Matthew. Yep. But we don't focus on that, yeah. Right. And another thing I want, and Joe, I didn't want to take. You wanted to make a point earlier, and when Blythe was speaking, did you?
We were talking about Robert Reich.
Okay.
In his column, his commentary on using Trump's parental personality, as some kind of benchmark, in addition to vindictiveness that was brought up. Is this a harsh parent? Well, I think that is why so many people continue with their support for President Trump, is maybe there is something in their own backgrounds, that lends itself to repeating that cycle. And we were on the car on the way up, and we were discussing things among the four of us. And, one of the hardest things in the world for a human being to do is they may be disagreeing with what President Trump is doing with his policies, his words, his actions. But it's a hard thing to say, I was wrong. I am wrong. Right. It's difficult for me. Right. I'm married. I have to do that a lot. It's an absolute universal truth. Humans are not wired to do that.
Yeah.
Right. But there is a lot of buyer's remorse, but yes,
I completely agree with you on that. I think that is a huge problem right now. Nobody can say, I was wrong. Maybe you're right. Maybe this is a better way. Yeah, I completely agree with you.
And I do believe that we should stop trying to shame people for those decisions. That gets us nowhere, because what happens when we do that, it just, the conversation devolves. Yes, it makes it only worse, and people will do things just to be oppositional. They will do things just to, you're not going to catch, bees with vinegar. You'll catch them with honey. So, but there's something that, did you want to say something, Mark? You look like you.
Well, for one thing, on that subject right there, I was going to say it's our egos. We're just not humble enough to be able to say, I was wrong. You have to be a pretty humble person to admit when you was wrong.
And I think that all of us are.
Yeah, as human beings.
That. I don't like to admit when I'm wrong either. I mean, that really takes a lot of strength of character and humility.
Exactly. And then on the subject, the thing that hit me when you guys was talking about the transgender issue is, my first thought is another divisive issue. You was talking about being forced, the military and stuff. I think it was during the Trump-Biden election, it was transgenders in the bathroom. It seems like every election cycle there's some divisive issue that they want us all to focus on. They play on our fears, and as long as they play on our fears and we're focused on these divisive issues, the people that's at the top, the one that's in power, the people that's at the very top, the most wealthy people are pulling the strings. And my personal feelings is, for the last 40 or 50 years, they've been doing this, and they've been robbing us of our political rights, our economic rights, and our judicial rights. And that's why we're exactly where we are right now today.
So, I completely agree with you, okay? And that's kind of where a lot of people like me are. I'm center, because I vote for who I think is best for the position. I don't go Democrat, Republican. I think they're all in it together, in my opinion, right? But the problem that you have is Okay, and when you guys asking what's the issues that I had, right? Well, one of the issues that I had was so many illegal aliens coming in the past 4 years during the past administration, right? I'm a third generation Mexican, okay? So my parents immigrated here, or my grandparents immigrated here, right? And I still have family in Mexico that comes up every once in a while, okay? But even I know that you can't just let over 10 million people come into the country like that, okay? In my opinion, that created a huge problem because now that's the pendulum. It went really far one way, right? Well, now you have the opposite happening, where now you want people to, they didn't want that. We didn't want that. So now what's the conclusion to that?
Yeah, so
you know?
I've got something to kind of put into the mix there because I hear what you're saying, and I've been in a lot of street side protests, and folks will come up and talk about that. Well, he let in so many people.
Yeah.
Back to the politicians not doing their jobs.
Yeah.
On both sides. We have not fixed the immigration laws in this country.
Yeah.
That
I
is on
agree.
both sides. That is not a blame to either side.
Yeah.
But fear is a motivator, right? Fear mobilizes people, like what Joe was saying, or Mark was saying it. So the fear of those 10 million people are terrible human beings. They've been dehumanized. They've been demonized. You know they're not, right?
Yep.
I mean, you know they're not. You're a third generation. I'm a first generation American, but I'm as white as a slice of white bread, right? So I just blend right in, but people wouldn't think that I'm a first generation American, right? My father came over from Norway. It is a key divisive issue that's been put out there, but the politicians are failing.
Yeah, I
They
agree
are
with you there.
failing, and we are not holding their feet to the fire.
And you know why? Because they can use that every election cycle.
Yes.
Yes, that's why they won't fix it.
Because they don't want
Trump
to.
did.
Yeah.
They don't want to. This country's 250 years old. You can't tell me that we couldn't have a secure border by
I
now.
know, right?
I was guarding nuclear weapons back 79 to 83, and we had sensors in the ground. We had sensors on the fence. We had cameras everywhere and stuff. Nobody was getting to them nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
So we can't do that for a border in year 2025?
We could
Now
have
it's
had-
technology back in.
And we
Yeah.
could have had a bipartisan agreement.
Yes.
And what happened?
No.
Trump said
Biden did that in his fourth year when his poll numbers were tanking.
No, let us-
and there was they were allowing 15,000 illegals to come in before they put a cap.
I agree with you. He waited too late. He
Yeah.
waited
Yep.
too late.
Yes.
The administration waited too late.
It seemed very disingenuous when it happened.
But they did put it forward.
Yes.
And the
This
guy that
last
was
POTUS.
not in office reached out to his party, Trump, not in office, reached out to his party and told them to oppose it.
Yeah.
And
We could have addressed all this.
He's armchair quarterbacking when he was out of office.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But I would have done the same thing.
Why?
you shouldn't.
Why?
Because
You shouldn't.
It's just
I
the
thought
game.
you just said that you wanted
that's
this
the
all
game.
addressed.
That's the game that's being played.
No. That's
Yeah.
why it needs to
Blythe?
stop.
I'm
Go
just
ahead.
saying, if I was him, I would have done the same thing.
Stop the game.
And we can't,
Stop
by the way, we can't hear Blythe very well. I don't know if her audio needs to be turned up a little bit.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, much
Yes.
better. There we go.
Okay, this is the problem with it. You would be a terrible politician because
Oh, yeah, I would
politicians
be
like
horrible.
to have these great platforms with
Whatever.
zero follow through. You have to have follow through, but people don't like that. Veterans issues, immigration, the economy, they dangle it like little carrots so we get them to vote for us and they
Yeah.
don't fucking do anything
Yeah.
because that doesn't get them reelected. It's fucking boring. That's not a platform. We
Yeah.
need boring politicians that aren't billionaires
Yes, we
and
do.
millionaires doing this for themselves.
Make politics
and
boring
actually-
again.
She should have been a sailor. I'm just saying.
Because this is showing there is very little education. Vaccines save lives. Vaccines are held accountable when they injure people, but it's through the federal government because the CDC is the one who mandates what the vaccines should be doing.
No, that's not
Vaccines
true. You can't
say-
sue.
It is true.
You can't
It's
sue.
true.
You
I
can't
just
sue
fact-checked
the
it.
pharmaceutical companies
But
over
she just said the
vaccine damage.
CDC mandates what's in them. That's
Yes.
true. That's what she's saying. That is true.
CDC.
Hold on, say that
And
one more
we
time.
don't have these conversations because people are being suppressed with these conversations. If we'd had these conversations about transgender, LGBTQ+, immigration, things like that, as children and have open political conversations, which is completely suppressed in the state of Indiana and beyond, we would not be here. We would not be here. How can I, at 17 years old, enlist in the Army and take that oath, but I can't have a transgender reassignment surgery, which is when Jazz actually did her reassignment surgery. She was 17 years old. Yep. That's okay. Children get raped, which is why it's good to have vaccines from when you get raped. That way you don't get hepatitis. We don't want our children to be raped, but it fucking happens. We have a pedophile in office right now. A lot of these things were put in place to fucking save and protect people, and they just go and crash it on both sides because it benefits their pockets and their donors.
You have a lot of faith in the pharmaceutical companies. I'm sorry.
But the Centers for Disease Control...
I have faith in science. My cell phone talking to you right now is science. Your phone and your headsets, science. Some of it is bad, some of it is harmful. But what you are saying is wrong and misinformation because of a few bad actors making things up so they can have some fancy herbal supplements to sell us.
I mean, they're not really making it up.
They are.
You can't just make stuff up like that, you know?
But they do all the time.
Trump does it every day.
Fox News was fined $787 million for lying, and people still listen to Fox News, even though they were fined $787 million.
Well, they're not news, though. They themselves said they're entertainment.
Yes.
In court.
The general public has not been media literate enough to know that, and that is the problem.
Right. And can I bring something up that is really near and dear to my heart? And this is a recurring theme. And Steve, you and I have talked about this on a couple of podcasts. And it just disturbs me to no end that some people are okay with this. For the first time in American politics, the very hateful rhetoric, same rhetoric that Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, and that's just a drop in the bucket. Any autocrat, any authoritarian tyrant who has perpetuated genocide has spoken these words the world over throughout history, and it's just so frightening to me. This, for the first time in American politics, in the first term of Trump's first term, he spoke these same words to describe people, to dehumanize people. And I know, Steve, you don't take issue with that, and you give him a buy on that, you've said, but I think this should have been game over when that type of rhetoric entered our political discourse. It's unprecedented to have entered, and as a result, we've become immune to what is right. We have normalized so much horribly hateful behavior. I agree with you there. Horribly hateful behavior. It's normal now.
He definitely started something that is snowballing right now.
He and so many others, and we need to really, really, really address this and stomp it out. This is an article by Ann Applebaum. I'm going to read it again for this podcast. It's so important. If anybody wants to look this up and see it themselves, it's called "Trump is Speaking Like Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini. The former president has brought dehumanizing language into American presidential politics." Ann Applebaum, A-N-N-E, Applebaum, A-P-P-L-E-B-A-U-M. Rhetoric has a history. The words democracy and tyranny were debated in ancient Greece. The phrase separation of powers became important in the 17th and 18th centuries. The word vermin as a political term dates from the 30s and 40s, and both when fascists and communists like to describe their political enemies as vermin, parasites, and blood infections, as well as insects, weeds, dirt, and animals. The term has been revived and reanimated in an American presidential campaign with Donald Trump's description of his opponents as, quote, radical left thugs, unquote, who, quote, live like vermin, end quote. This language isn't merely ugly or repellent. These words belong to a particular tradition. Adolf Hitler used these kinds of terms often. In 1938, he praised his compatriots who had helped cleanse Germany of all those parasites who drank at the well of the despair of the fatherland and the people. In occupied Warsaw, a 1941 poster displayed a drawing of a louse with a caricature of a Jewish face. The slogan, quote, Jews are lice, they cause typhus, end quote. Germans, by contrast, were clean, pure, healthy, and vermin-free. Hitler once described the Nazi flag as, quote, the victorious sign of freedom and the purity of our blood, end quote. Stalin used the same kind of language at about the same time. He called his opponents the enemies of the people, implying that they were not citizens. His enemies, keep this in mind, exactly what Trump's doing, and that they enjoyed no rights. And by the way, Trump's talking about you. and me. Let's make it, it's not those people over there. Just anybody who doesn't agree with him. Anyway, he portrayed them as vermin. This is Stalin. Pollution, filth that had to be subjected to ongoing purification, and he inspired his fellow communists to employ similar rhetoric. In my files, this is Ann Applebaum speaking, I have the notes from a 1955 meeting of the leaders of the Stasi, the East German secret police, during which one of them called for a struggle against vermin activities. There is inevitably a German word for this. I can't pronounce it. I've looked it up. Brian, will you pronounce that?
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Schadzingaukiten.
Very good. Okay. And so we'll work on that. By which he meant the purge and arrest of the regime's critics. So in the same era, the Stasi forcibly moved suspicious people away from the border with West Germany, a project nicknamed Operation Vermin. What do we have now? We have, what's down in Florida?
Alligator Alcatraz.
Alligator Alcatraz, right? And interesting,
Speedway
Laura
Slammer.
Loomer, one of the loyalists and half-crocked, out of her mind, people that our current POTUS consults on things, said I think she said there were 65 million alligators. That's the amount of Hispanics in this country, by the way, Steve. What does that imply? Right?
Yeah. One for each.
One for each.
Yeah.
So this kind of language was not limited to Europe. Mao Zedong also described his political opponents as poisonous weeds. Pol Pot spoke of cleansing hundreds of thousands of his compatriots, so Cambodia would be purified. In each of these very different societies, the purpose of this kind of rhetoric was the same. If you connect your opponents with disease, illness, and called for segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever, what happens?
Right.
You dehumanize people.
And if you use benign-sounding names for detention facilities,
yes,
it puts a nice cutesy kind of framework on it, so it doesn't seem as bad as it is.
Yes,
Speedway Slammer.
And Obama. And Obama. Let's just say what Obama did with regard to this is an AI overview. I have not fact checked any of this. I simply brought it up on my phone. Let's fact check this information later to make sure it's correct, because AI is not always giving factual information. But this is what it says about Barack Obama, and I want to make a point about this too. Barack Obama's immigration policies were defined by a mixed approach that included record high deportations alongside executive actions to also protect millions of unauthorized immigrants. A comprehensive immigration reform bill failed in Congress, leading Obama to use executive authority to enact major changes. Here are the key elements of what he did. Enforcement and deportation. Initial increase in deportation. In his first term, he escalated immigration enforcement, leading to a peak of nearly 410,000 deportations in 2012. Okay. This led people to call him the deporter-in-chief, right? But there was a shift in priorities. In his second term, his administration focused enforcement resources on immigrants deemed threats to national security or public safety. The policy was laid out in a series of memos, most notably in 2004 by Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson, which ended the controversial Security Communities program. Then he increased border security. The administration invested significant resources, but he also, despite being deporter-in-chief, right, dubbed deporter-in-chief, he started the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, the DACA program. That was an act created in 2012. The DREAM Act, Obama established DACA through executive action. And what did that do? What did that do? That gave hope to children who were already here and contributing to society. Now, if some people think that wasn't the legal way to get here and you're a criminal, what is that saying? What is that saying to children who are born somewhere not of their own choice, and they find themselves in a homeland who doesn't want them here? They're here. Let's give that. So that Obama may have deported a lot of people, and he did not always give due process at times, but he wanted to give people the opportunity to be welcomed in a strange land, welcomed where they were already living, and giving children opportunity. And some of these dreamers have gone on to accomplish wonderful things and be very productive members of society.
Yes.
So, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say real quick, something that never gets talked about this issue besides the border issue is we never discuss the cause. We never discuss why are they fleeing from their countries? Why are they trying to come here and stuff? And I'm going to tell you what, a lot of times it's because us, the United States, is meddling in their country, whether it's a coup, an overthrow, or an actual war, or sending weapons down there.
The refugees.
Exactly.
From violence.
Exactly. They're trying to save their lives and the lives of their family. You know?
Should we label them then? Should we not welcome them and send them back either to their countries or somewhere else to be possibly killed?
I mean, but is that our responsibility?
I think so.
I don't think so.
I think, well, go ahead.
And I wanted to add on one
Within
other
reason.
thing. And a lot of times,
I can meet you there.
the majority of the times, the reasons why we're meddling in them countries is they have something of worth, something that we want. Because if they didn't, we wouldn't be there in the first place.
It's true. Minerals.
Yeah.
Yep. Did you
I
say
agree
something,
with
Blythe? Were you saying
Nope,
something?
I'm just agreeing.
Yep.
It's all money.
Yeah.
See, the problem with and this is kind of like what I've been saying, is, I know a couple DACA recipients, okay? And I'm not going to, I'll just leave that right there, right? So they're in jeopardy now because of this push to deport illegal aliens, okay? And it sucks because, I don't think that so many people should have been let in the last 4 years. I look at it in terms of economically, it takes away from local businesses being able to hire, Americans at a decent wage because illegal immigrants will come in and work cheaper. Then it takes up, now you have 10 million more people. Well, now you have to house them. You have to feed them. A lot of these people are coming in on
And
getting entitled.
Who pays for that? But just out of curiosity, we do. The government pays for them.
Yeah.
So again, we go back to both sides fell at this.
Yeah.
If they want to stop illegal immigration coming in, then let's pass a bill. We don't give them food. We don't give them housing. We don't give them medical. We don't give them clothing allowance. We don't give them anything. You want to come to America, you come to America the right way. Do it like the Constitution says. Stop enabling them to do it.
Yeah.
And they are just as guilty, if not more guilty, because you know what? I bet there's money in their pockets coming on the side because they're getting a kickback from them coming in illegally.
Yeah.
And Trump is just as guilty as all the others because anytime there's money to be made, he's doing it.
Yeah.
He's the only president that has taken in money during office.
But there's a common
And since
misconception,
when? Roosevelt, I think it was.
Yeah, there's a common misconception that 10 million people aren't working and they're collecting welfare. That's not true.
Oh, yeah, that's not true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're actually working. They're actually paying into Social Security. So
Yeah.
if you think about it from the other perspective, somebody that has been here for 5 years or longer is paid into the social system, is earning a fair paycheck, working their asses off. I mean, they do the jobs that no one else wants to do.
Yeah.
They're on the roof in the middle of the summer, re-roofing people's homes, right? And doing that kind of work, working in people's backyards, mowing their lawns. They're doing the work that the people that complain that they're taking my jobs won't do. They actually won't do those
Absolutely.
jobs.
Many
They're
of them.
paying into the system. Now we're going to kick them out. We've basically stolen the money that they have paid into Social Security because they will never see that. They've paid into it. They've paid into taxes. They're never going to see that again either. It's not everybody. There are some folks that, there's always people that are going to go around the system. There are always criminals. We've got more criminals actually that are U.S. citizens per capita than there are undocumented immigrants. So again, it's the fear motivation, right? So they're all evil, they're all vermin, they're all criminals is not true. And we need to get away from that hyperbolic language that we use.
That hurts me more than anything because I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for the fact that my paternal and maternal grandparents fled Turkey and Greece respectively because of ethnic cleansing. With what was basically on their backs, and
Right.
they came here and they didn't know the language and they were welcomed. They were welcomed into the country, and they were still called stupid. We called them displaced people at that time.
All
right?
immigrants are.
Yes.
They've all gone through that period.
And now people are being arrested, Steve, and everybody just going to their hearings.
Right.
They're being entrapped. Following the law by people who are masked, not even showing their faces. I mean, it's the brown shirts all over. It's fascism.
America's Gestapo.
It's America's Gestapo. Exactly. These people they're oftentimes working. They have families. They're contributing to our economy, right? And they're being viciously, sometimes just violently tackled, and that's it. That's the end of it. No due process. Yeah. That is not the United States of America that I know all of us as veterans fought to preserve. Right. It is not. And what I'm really concerned... Go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So what is your solution to the people that came in the past 4 years?
I'm sorry?
So like the past 4 years, the illegal immigrants that came in the past 4 years,
So stop saying the past 4 years, because it's been going on longer than 4 years.
That's true. Yeah. That's true,
so,
but
because
not on the pace that the past 4 years.
On it.
And if I remember correctly, in Trump's first 4 years, there were more immigrants that come in under his term, illegal immigrants, than during the Biden administration. I can't remember where I found that, but I'm pretty sure that is factual. But what did Trump do to get rid of them? Biden did it 4 years, and he had record numbers deporting the immigrants. Obama did it. Record numbers. Trump couldn't compete in his 4 years. So now he's going to go in full force. And the first 3 months of his term this time, he was way under the numbers of what Biden did in his first 3 months, deporting illegal immigrants.
So why is it a problem then?
He's a terrorist.
It's money.
And let me tell you the other lie to incite fear.
I mean, I'm just I just want to understand. If Biden did more, why is Trump...
He has to have a villain. Hitler had the Jews. Mm-hmm. He has to have a villain. Yeah. He's used transgender and LGBT community to target. We're 1.3%, if I remember, in the whole country, transgender community. He's targeted 1.3% to keep from playing women's sports or to do anything legally like anybody else has the right to do. They're attacking driver's licenses, taxes, homes, medical. I mean, they've completely gone after everything.
I agree with you on those, though. Yeah,
and that's not right.
The girls' sports one, but the other ones, I agree with you. This shouldn't be a problem.
Well, we could get into a big discussion on the female sports because I played women's professional football, and I can tell you that they had a better advantage over me because 90% of them were taking testosterone. But I had to submit a blood test every week and show where my estrogen levels were and my testosterone levels. Testosterone was well under 50, and my estrogen was like 250.
And they didn't have to submit any.
They did not have to submit.
Doping.
And then when I found out they were taking it, it took me a long time to get them to make them have to submit a blood test. And when it started coming out, they were doped real high with testosterone. That gives them an advantage even over me. The only advantage that you have as being a biological male born versus a female biological born is the fact that I grew up playing football with guys, and I have the tactics. I've got the practice. I've got the game experience. Most women that start playing professional football don't have that. So they have to start at an adult age and learn everything. I already had that going into it. That's the only advantage that I have.
I wouldn't say that's the only one. I mean, you do have a physical advantage.
Not really. Not when they're
bone
just as
density,
big. My bone density is less than theirs because of the hormones and the drop in testosterone. Science.
Okay, but I get what you're saying. On that one. But I want to get back to the immigration, all right? Because I find this fascinating. I'm curious on why you guys think that. Okay, let me ask you something. What is the problem that you guys have with immigration right now?
The system's broken.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about what Trump's doing? Do you guys not agree with?
The way he's doing it.
The way he's doing it.
Okay, but what exactly?
No due process,
kidnap.
stealing people off the street.
Literally stealing people.
Not showing other people
Completely
subpoena
ignoring that
from the
they
court.
feed us.
Okay, so
Also, I have a problem with entrapping people when they go legally to their hearings, and they're really here legally, even though they may not be citizens. That is straight out of a fascist authoritarian playbook. We've never seen. No president ever did that before. And we're seeing it on such a. And now we're having the government offer people at sometimes up to $50,000 of student forgiveness on their loans, plus the age to be an ICE. I think an ICE or Homeland Security agent has been waived. They're basically taking anybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Right. Correct.
And people not trained are going and kidnapping people off the street,
or
and
people that want to do harm to
right.
people.
But let me tell you something here. Just this is lies. Fact check. People think fact check. And I'm going to fact check this article. Right. This is a PBS News article dated February 22nd, 2025. It's by Maria Ramirez Uribe of PolitiFact. And this is what it says. 1 month since President Donald Trump was sworn in as president, the White House is touting the administration's successes, including a sharp drop in illegal immigration. So, daily illegal alien encounters plummeted 95% under President Trump. 95% a month after that January 20th, 2025 inauguration. Yet, so think about that. Yet, what's being said now is they're coming in like crazy across. Millions of dangerous criminals are coming across the border. Not true. There's that fear. There's that justification for get rid of the vermin. Right? Oh, we got Alligator Alcatraz. Guess what? Now we have Camp Atterbury. We're going to have a second one.
Speedway Slammer.
Yep. Right. Exactly.
So
it's all concocted to be hateful.
So they were down 95%.
Yes.
When Trump came
within
off.
the first month, if that article is accurate. Now I did not.
I mean, isn't that kind of telling?
Yeah.
That
It's telling that
95%
it's telling that this absolute crazy criminal kidnapping people off of streets is concocted.
Okay, but that's
real.
not necessarily true either. They're federal agents.
Trump is a criminal.
And they're doing their duty by arresting what they perceive as an illegal immigrant. Those are federal officers. I mean, they're doing their job.
But sworn federal officers identify themselves.
Again, they're going and arresting people at court.
So now that one,
when they're complying with the law.
The problem
and they're
I
not
have
criminals. They're not criminals.
So that problem I have right there is that you have people that are actually doxing these immigration officials, and when they go and they arrest a legal immigrant and there's protesters, these protesters are taking pictures of them and putting on the internet. That is fact. That's actually happened. So I kind of understand the mass part when it comes to that. Okay. Now to go back to yours, what did you say? I'm sorry. I was thinking about that.
The last point that I made.
Yeah.
How people who are not criminals, who are complying with the system to stay legally in the United States, who have families, who are economically contributing to our country, are being entrapped and viciously kidnapped. So and oftentimes in very violent.
Going to court.
Yes, that's just one example.
I agree with you on that one.
But you know what I'm really
if they're going to court and fixing it, then it shouldn't be an issue.
We are in lack of time. I just got the 20 minutes. I want to talk about what's something else that really I want everybody's thoughts on. This politicizing of the U.S. military, of our U.S. armed forces. This is frightening. So what we have is Trump had sent National Guard troops as well as the Marines to L.A. many months ago. Then next, he actually took over D.C. He took over the police department with federal troops. Next, he's threatening to send troops to Chicago. So he's targeting basically the blue states and cities. And this is frightening because, as we know, we, as the United States military, are not there to target our own citizens. And that is what's happening. And I do want to talk about the oath. The oath we all took. This is an oath of enlistment. We have some...
Can I add one thing to that, too?
Can I read my oath, and then you can add it? This is a huge deal to me, and I don't know... I know that people are putting videos online saying, come on, people. I served or I'm currently serving, this is my oath of enlistment. We did not take an oath to a person or a party. We took an oath to the United States Constitution. I, Constance Karras, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against enemies, all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God. Now, there is a portion in there that says I am to obey the President of the United States, because whoever wrote this, it was inconceivable that the President of the United States would be trying to destroy the country's rule of law. So that's where the Constitution comes in. There are where we can address abuses of power with the president or with officials, with elected officials. But now we have a SCOTUS who out of thin air created law that the president can do whatever they want.
Whatever is necessary.
The POTUS can do whatever they want.
So
right?
I would like to add
That's
in there.
frightening. So
I would also like to add in there, I don't agree with making it illegal to burn the American flag. I think it's reprehensible. I would never
Right.
do it. If
Right.
somebody did it in front of me, I would probably take the flag from them. But at the same time, it shouldn't be illegal.
Right.
I'm sorry.
I think the oath where it talks about the UCMJ in there, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the UCMJ it does specify that if you're
If it's a
protected,
legal order,
yeah,
yes.
if it's an illegal
Unlawful
order or
orders.
unlawful order,
Correct.
that you are protected as a veteran or a U.S. soldier.
In fact, you're obligated,
Yes, to
report it and
Yes.
to disregard it.
Yes.
and I see so much fear. Go ahead, Mark. By currently serving people to question these illegal orders. They are. This is and Trump is bypassing the governors of states.
Yes.
He did that with regard to Newsom in California. He's probably going to try to do that with Brandon Johnson in Chicago. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, I really didn't have anything on that to contribute, but I was sitting here thinking, if we're sitting back and waiting for the Supreme Court to save us in all this, it isn't going to happen.
No.
I'm going to tell you, that's another part. Again, the wealthy big banks, corporation, Wall Street has a stranglehold on all three branches of government now, and both political parties. That's why it's time for us to stand up.
The fact
It's
that
time
the
for us to-
Supreme Court can get gifts from people and not report them,
Right.
not even report it. Come on,
Exactly.
ridiculous.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I mean,
Citizens
we talked
versus
about.
SEC. Yes. Getting it right here.
I was about to bring that up.
That
Yes.
landmark
So-
by one vote case in 2010, Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission.
There is a theme to what we
Yes.
right? There's a theme.
Until this can be over,
Yeah.
this can be no longer.
It's the money.
It's
Money and
always
politics.
the
Yeah.
grip that you're talking about on all sides. Absolutely, the multi-billion-dollar, and I don't know how that's ever going to change. That's what our country needs. And there was a constitutional attorney, Sabrina Hake, who was on a podcast. She posited that if we had a SCOTUS that was more than 9 people, I think, what did she say? 14? It should be 14 people. We would have a chance. Yes, it would. It's just not enough people right now on SCOTUS, and I don't know if we're ever going to be able to change how many justices are on there. But this was a court ruling 5-4. We had just one vote. And there are a lot of landmark cases like that by one vote. But I think 9 people deciding very, very important cases for our life and our liberty and our country.
And no term limit.
And no term
So
limit.
And no term limit. Thank you for bringing that up. 'Cause I hate that too. Senators should have it. Representatives should have it.
Everyone.
It's ridiculous.
What job can you have in America that you literally go in broke and within the first 2 years be a millionaire?
I know, right? Public service.
United States Congress.
Exactly. Our politicians isn't even statesmen anymore like it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, they come in and serve their country and then go back to their careers. It's not like they've made that their careers.
Yeah.
They've made that where they make their money at.
Yeah, I agree.
So what can we do? We've got the midterms coming up.
Vote.
Vote, because now we have because Trump is he knows that his policies are so unpopular and so dangerous. He's ordering illegal
Redistricting.
gerrymandering mid-decade, mid-census, and it's happening. It's happening in supermajority states such as Indiana. It's going to happen. It hasn't been officially announced, but I don't know where they're going to. There are two districts in Indiana, District 1 and District 7, I believe, which is Andre Carson's. Frank Mervan is our congressman in District 1, and I don't know what's going to happen there. That the Republicans already have 7 out of our 9 districts in Indiana, but the illegal redistricting, that is alarming. We can have some semblance of decency restored to our government if we show up at the polls. 90 million people didn't show up for the last POTUS election. And I think that's why we have what we have right now in our country.
That's another thing I don't understand. This whole you see some of these states that have done it. I mean, it's ridiculous how they've gotten away with this stuff. But I guess some of these states have laws where it doesn't have to be a third party that makes these maps.
Yeah, it depends on the state law. Yeah, it depends. Each state is different. Gerrymandering has been around for a long time. It does not make it right.
Yeah,
it does not make
Indiana
it right.
just done it. What?
Yeah.
8 years ago or something like that.
I think it's two. Yes. I think it was. Well, I remember it's Congressional District 1. That's up here, Congressman Frank Mervan's district. 90,000 Republicans were redistricted into the. I think it was 2012. I can't remember.
It was like 2010, 2012, something like that. Yeah.
Well, Texas's gerrymandering is being brought. There's a case that's been brought against it because they said the quiet part out loud, and they said they were gerrymandering to basically reduce the ability of the black vote.
Any disenfranchised. Yes.
So it's disenfranchising a minority, and that's illegal. And so that case is going to be brought up and fought in court. So that'll slow that effort down. And it's getting to a boiling point, right? Because Texas started it, because the president demanded that they gerrymander. That's the thing that's different about this one is that
blind allegiance.
Just like in the 2020 election when he went to Georgia and said, "Find me 11,000 votes," right? A president. Maybe they've done that in the past quietly. I don't know, but this is the first one to do it out in the open. And open corruption is still corruption.
Because SCOTUS gave him a get-out-of-jail-free card, basically. Yes. And we have 10 minutes. I want to focus on these last very important 10 minutes. Everybody, what do we need to do to preserve our democracy, our U.S. constitutional republic and its representative democracy going forward? How can we get people together to see that this hateful administration, and it's demonizing people, how can we get back to a place where we love people, where we respect people?
We need to unite. United we stand, divided we fall.
I agree.
Because right now we're divided.
I agree. We got to stop picking sides and then sticking with our sides. And I don't trust any of them. I mean, I was raised like that, and there was only one politician I like, and that's Frank Mervan, and that's because I seen him actually help somebody in front of me. So that's why I like him.
I saw him last night.
Oh, Frank?
He's gonna zoom into the show when Rocky comes back. One of our co-hosts is returning. Go ahead.
Go back to the beginning.
Yes,
we need to stop buying into their divisive issues.
Yeah.
We need to stop that. I'm going to tell you right now. This illusion that we have two different parties, you can forget it.
Yeah.
You can forget it. I mean, they just both play us and stuff. When's the last time they listened to we the people? You said it exactly right. We the people need to unite. Quit counting on them because they're not even listening to us anymore. They listen to their handlers. Yeah. And again, their handlers is the wealthy, big banks, corporations, and Wall Street. That's who they listen to. That's who they work for. They do exactly what they're told by them people.
They forget they work for us, not for them. And they seem to think it's the other way around, that they are there for us to tell us how to live.
Yeah.
And that's not it. The people are who keep the politicians squared away.
Yeah.
And people have forgotten that because it's too easy to let them just run.
Yeah. You know what, I was just thinking, what is the thing that unites all of us, to include Blythe online? I'm guessing that we all come from humble roots. We all have come from working class families. We have all made our way, and we all found our way into the military serving, right? So that's the tie that binds us. but what is the glue that really holds us together? And it's, I have my copy here. It's the Constitution, right? It's the Constitution. So we all need to pick something that is important and tethers us together. And I think when I've been out on the street a lot, and when I get people that want to get angry with me because I'm exercising my First Amendment rights, I'll pull out a copy of the Constitution. I said, please read this and come back and talk to me. So I think it's important that we all collectively pick something that is important to us and we act on it. That we unite, and we unite beyond our lane, right? I mean, we're all together. We're all kind of in a similar lane here as veterans. We need to unite beyond that lane, though, right? We need to cross over and make sure that we're doing work with marginalized communities, like you're doing with HVAF. Talking about the spiritual aspects, staying spiritually grounded and civically engaged. That's extremely important. That's something that's not comfortable for us as veterans because we've always supposed to have been apolitical. So I think that's really important.
And can I say I see that in the veteran network here. There are a lot of people who are uncomfortable, fellow veterans, who don't like how our military is being political and all the just nastiness of this administration.
Yeah.
But they keep it to themselves and they talk back channel. They don't right? They don't. You won't see them show up at a protest.
Right.
They're doing what the Republican Party, the Congressional Republican Parties are kind of talking about what a psycho he is.
You got to get out of your comfort zone.
You got to get out of your comfort zone. Yeah. So, what do we have? About 3-4 minutes left. 5 minutes
shortly, so I need to jump off.
Blythe needs to jump off, so we'll let Blythe have a closing thought. We have 5 minutes, Blythe.
Oh, mostly human rights aren't partisan. Human rights should include education, healthcare, safe water, safe food, safe housing, and being safe from our politicians harming us, because this is a terrorist organization running our state and our country right now.
Thank you for joining us. I can't tell you how much we appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks, Blythe. Thanks for coming on today.
Yes.
Love you, girl.
Bye. Love you.
Okay, he's gone. Democracy is not meant to be a spectator sport. For a democracy to work, it has to have full participation. And, I'm not one to jump on a bandwagon for movements and that sort of thing. But when I got together with these guys back in early spring, we have our differences. We have different ideologies that have shaped us, but we are united. We are united because, you know what? Whatever rights we have, they're gone if we don't have a constitution. And this is the last several years has been a direct assault on every aspect of the Constitution. And we need to wake up.
And now women's voting rights voting rights, period, are at risk now because there is rhetoric about that being thrown around by the administration.
I had to laugh about that. Yesterday was a celebration of the passage of the 19th Amendment. What are the ironies, is going today.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth goes to a church where the pastor believes that families should vote as a family and the woman should not be able to vote. What does this tell you about our administration? And by the way, you look like John Voight. Have you ever gotten that?
My whole life.
You do! That's all! I almost called you John!
I'm surprised it took you that long. Anyway, I wanted to, along the lines of what they was talking about, the Constitution is the law of the land. It's the foundation of this country. It's the foundation of our democracy. It's being disregarded, circumvented, and it's being attacked right now. And if we lose that right there, we lose this country. We lose this country as we know it. We will live in a dictatorship.
I think we are to some extent now. Yeah. We just need to stop normalizing this horrible behavior. I think we can get back to that. We're still human beings. And we have souls, and we know what's right and wrong. And I really go back, I refer back to that Robert Reich post from a couple months ago that I read, where sometimes people are, I think it's how we're raised, that can sometimes dictates the sway that people can have over us. And we really need to look inside and go, wait a minute, this isn't right. Really, I think we all have the ability to do that, and we've got to start doing that and come together and realize we're all in this together.
Yeah.
We're all in this. There's no bad guy. There's no vermin. There's no tainted blood. Please, let's come to our senses on that. And like I said, my gosh, my maternal and paternal grandparents were treated so horribly. They lost everything that they had. There's so much. They fled like the refugees coming here looking for a better life. Can we take them all in, Steve? No. But we should try our best. There should be limits. We can't take everybody. There are some countries, Greece is turning away refugees. I mean, we can't be the haven for the entire world, but let's also not demonize people. And we're demonizing people.
And
that's the bottom line.
We don't want to stop being the beacon of liberty. I mean, and we're snuffing the light of the beacon of liberty out in this country right now.
The hatred needs to stop. So, in closing, we have a couple of minutes left. 1 minute. I want to thank our guests. I want to thank you so much for traveling so far. Blythe joined us by Zoom.
Yeah,
thank you, Blythe Potter.
That was awesome. You guys to travel 2.5 hours.
2.5 at least.
Yeah, thank you.
Amy
That was
Kay.
thanks for having us.
Brian Jonasen.
Yep.
Joe Stuteville.
Correct.
And not John Voight. Mark Smith. Thank you.
As soon as she said that, I was like, yeah, you do. Let me get your autograph.
Thank you for your service, first and foremost, your selfless service to our enduring freedom. And this is Beyond the Uniform podcast, which means way beyond the uniform, we still serve. And we are all serving our fellow citizens. And I thank you all for the way you're doing it. You're doing it in your own individual ways. Let's keep going strong. Let's bring more in. Let's bring more people in just to love other people. This is the United States of America. We have the ability to do that. It is incumbent upon us to do that. And I can't wait to have you all back and find out what you've been doing since this podcast. And I'll be coming down to the State House and seeing you. We're going to go for karaoke. I'm going to sing karaoke with you, girl.
Let's go. Anytime. Do it at my house.
Not in the State House. I don't think they'd like that.
No.
Just in Indianapolis.
Actually, it might not be a bad idea. Let's go to the State House.
Don't get me started. Don't put ideas in my head.
I know Brian loves to sing too, so we'll give him.
Okay. That's great. Well, thank you. I hope you have very safe travels back, and thank you again for being here.
You bet.
Steve, any closing thoughts?
Hey, thank you guys for coming. I mean, hopefully we found some common ground today between each other, and hopefully you guys don't hate me.
This is
Not
good.
possible.
This is good. We got to come together and talk about these things, and that's exactly what we're doing. This is real talk, real people, uncensored. Beyond the Uniform podcast, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on TuneIn Radio, also on the Jed TV app, and just simply go to wjob1230.com/beyond-the-uniform.html. That's Hank, Tom, Mary Lou. Again, wjob1230.com/beyond-the-uniform.html. And we will see you next time. Everybody, this is the United States of America. Go out there, be kind. That's patriotism. Hoorah.
The views expressed by the host and guest of Beyond the Uniform podcast do not necessarily represent the views of WJOB and the Jed TV staff, Veterans Views, contributors, sponsors, and the American Legion. Thank you for listening.